Hello, in this video, I will derive using the quotient rule. So I'm going to explain the quotient rule and when to use it. So yes, quotient rule is just another technique for differentiating. You would apply quotient rule if, that's me. You would apply the quotient rule if the function is in rational form. So what I mean is like rational form as in px excuse me, over qx, right? You've seen rational functions before. So an example would be like y equals x over x plus 5. And then if you know, if it is in rational form, you can use quotient rule. So quotient rule is, it's slightly different than the product rule. It's f prime of g. So f prime times g minus g prime of f all over g squared. Okay. So yeah, so if you know that rule, you can take the derivative of the quotient rule. So let's move on to example one. Okay, example one. We have, it says find y prime using quotient rule. So it's not as bad as it looks. Use blue. So let's figure, so the top is always the f, and then the bottom is always your g. So my f is 4x squared minus 1, and then f prime is 8x, and then the derivative of negative 1 is 0. And then g is 7x cubed plus x. G prime is, the derivative of 7x cubed is 21x squared. Yes. And then the derivative of x is 1, because I just used power rule. So let's find y prime. So if we recall, quotient rule is f prime of g minus g prime of f all over g squared. So f prime is 8x times it by regular g, which is 7x cubed plus x minus bracket, and then g prime is 21x squared plus 1. And then regular f is 4x squared minus 1 all over g squared. So regular g is 7x cubed plus x, and then square that. Okay. So what I would do is simplify the numerator. So what I would do is FOIL these things out first, and then distribute that minus. So let's FOIL this out. So 21x squared times 4x squared is 84x to the fourth. And then 21x squared minus 1 is minus 21x squared. 1 times 4x is positive 4x squared. 1 times negative 1 is negative 1. Could we collect like terms? We could collect negative 21x squared and 4x. So that would be 84x fourth. And then negative 21 plus 4 is negative 17 minus 1. Then FOIL out this minus. So that would be negative 84x fourth. This would be positive 17x squared. And then this would be positive 1. And then on the top, we still have to simplify this. So 8x times 7x cubed is 56 x to the fourth, and then 8x times x is 8x squared all over g squared, so it's just 7x cubed plus x squared. And then you collect like terms. So your final answer, let me put it right here, y prime equals to negative 28 x4 plus 25 x squared plus 1 all over, and I'm just going to leave the bottom, I'm going to leave the bottom alone. Okay, so yeah, all I did was collect like terms. I collected the x4th, and I collected the x squared. And that is my final answer. Okay. Let's move on to example 2. Okay, find S prime using quotient rules. So the numerator is your F, the bottom is your G. So F is 1 plus T. F prime is, the derivative of 1 is 0, the derivative of T is 1. And then G is radical T. G prime is actually going to be 1 over 2 radical T. And this is related to power rule because square root of T is the same thing as T to the 1/2. So if you take the derivative of this, it's just going to be 1/2 T, and then it's according to power rule, it's power whole power minus 1, so 1/2 minus 1. And when you simplify this, it gets into 1. It simplifies as 1 over 2 radical T. Okay, so let us apply the quotient rule. So quotient rule, if you forget, I'm just going to write it again. F prime of G minus G prime of F all over G squared. So S prime is F prime, which is 1. G is radical T minus G prime. Here, let me put a bracket because I got to do G prime. G prime is 1 over 2 radical T times it by regular F, which is 1 plus T. And then it's all over G squared. G is radical T, and then square that. Okay, so I think we have to simplify the inside bracket here. So what is 1 over 2 radical T times 1 plus radical T? That is just going to be 1 plus T over 2 radical T, right? And we got to FOIL out this minus. So that's going to be negative 1 minus T over 2 radical T. And then over here, it's 1 times radical T, which is radical T. I have a complex fraction. I'm going to simplify this complex fraction. So what is my GCF? We have a 1 here and a 2 radical T. So my GCF is actually 2 radical T. So you're going to multiply the left side by 2 radical T. So 2 radical T times radical T, the T's just becomes T. That's just 2T. And then you have a minus 1 and a minus T. And then on the bottom, it's 2 radical T. Now, keep in mind, this is just for the numerator. We're going to have a complex fraction. So it's still all over radical T squared, which is just T. So let's simplify this as much as we can. 2t minus 1t is t, right? 2t minus 1t is t minus 1 over 2 radical t. And then we're gonna, it's all over t, so it's gonna do t over 1. And then if you cross multiply, this is going to be t minus 1. And then this is going to be 2t, because I'm cross multiplying 2t radical t. So your final answer will be, here, let me write it, s prime is t minus 1 over 2t radical t. And that is the most simplified I can get to. Okay, let's move on to example 3. Okay, so example 3 is not too bad. It's actually easier than the first one. So this is your f, this is your g. So my f is x cubed plus 2x squared minus 1. My f prime is 3x squared plus 4x, and then the derivative of -1 is 0. And then g is x plus 5. G prime is 1. So quotient rule, it's f prime of g minus g prime of f all over g squared. So y prime is going to be f prime, which is 3x squared plus 4x times it by g, which is x plus 5, minus bracket, and then g prime is 1 times regular f, which is x cubed plus 2x squared minus 1. All over g squared, so that would be x plus 5 squared. So if you simplify the bracket, 1 times this is just itself, so really it's just x squared plus 2x squared minus 1. And then just FOIL out that minus, so that would be minus x cubed minus 2x squared, and then positive 1. Then on here, you do have to FOIL it out. So this would be 3x cubed plus 15x squared plus 4x squared plus 20x. And then it's all over x plus 5 squared. So when you collect on the numerator, when you collect like terms, your final answer will be y prime equals to 2x cubed plus 17x squared plus 20x plus 1 all over x plus 5 squared. Okay. So that is y prime. Okay, let's do the last one. Find y prime using quotient rules. So, okay, so my f is the top, right? And my g is the bottom. So f is 3 and f prime, so 3 is a constant, so we know that the derivative constant is always going to be 0. And then g is radical x plus 2. the 2 is not inside the radical. And then g prime is 1 over 2 radical x. And then the derivative of 2 is 0. So what I did, I'm just basically taking the derivative of radical x, and you get 1 over 2 radical x. And how we got that is you apply power rule. So radical x is the same thing as x to the 1/2. So if you take the derivative of this using power rule, it'd be 1 times 1/2, which is 1/2 x, and then it's old power minus 1, so it's 1/2 minus 1. And when you simplify it using positive powers, you get 1 over 2 radical x. Okay, so my quotient rule is f prime of g minus g prime of f all over g squared. So it's going to be y prime equals f prime, which is 0. And then g is radical x minus bracket g prime is 1 over 2 radical x times it by regular f, which is 3, all over g squared. So g is radical x, and then we're going to square that. So y prime is, so 0 times radical x is 0, so that's good. And then what's 1 over 2 radical x times 3? That is 3 over 2 radical x. And then you have a minus. And then on the bottom is radical x squared is just x. So on the top, what's 0 minus this? It's just that. So that's going to be negative 3 over 2 radical x. So we have a complex fraction. So, and then on the bottom is x. So this is your numerator, and then this is your denominator. So when you have a complex fraction, you can rewrite it as this: negative 3 over 2 radical x, divide sign, and then it's just going to be x over 1. So when you cross multiply, it's going to be negative 3. And then on the bottom, it's going to be on the bottom, it's going to be I made a mistake right here. So on the bottom, it's g squared. So g is not, it's very easy to make, g is not just radical x, it's radical x plus 2, right? So that is the mistake I made. So so right here, I made erase. So your denominator is actually going to be radical x plus 2 squared. So let's do this again. Let me erase this. So on the top, it's negative 3 over 2 radical x divided by radical x plus 2 parentheses square equals to 1. And then what I'm going to do is cross multiply. So this would be 1 times negative 3 is negative 3. And then on bottom, I'm just going to leave. So it's 2 radical x times radical x plus 2 squared. I would not FOIL this out. I'll just leave it as it is. So you can say it's just 2 radical x, and then it's just going to be parentheses radical x plus 2 parentheses squared. Okay, so this is y prime. Okay, and that's it for this section. Thank you.